So go ahead and reconvene. This is Tuesday, January 30th. This is the work session with the Board of Supervisors and Information Technology. With me are Supervisors Merkin and Supervisor Basil, Director of External Operations, Sandra King, Auditor Lucy Martin, Assistant Auditor Lisa Markley, Communications Assistant Bryce Garman, and I'll leave the folks at the table to introduce themselves.
Tim Patterson, Information Technology.
Alyssa Wignall, Director of Internal Operations and Human Resources.
Okay, and it looks like we're on page 145.
Yep. Oh, did you guys want, oh, you got a book. Sorry. I'm failing my job miserably. I had it all laying out here, Tim, so you can have one of your very own.
He brought a cheat sheet, but I think we'll just start and go through here. Starting with revenues, keeping everything the same. The only revenues that IT has would be the reimbursements we get from the engineer's office or either county assessor office, county assessor or city assessor office. Amounts are staying the same this fiscal year. Okay, looking expense wise, do you want to go line by line? Is that how the board wants to?
Sure.
Right, well, hopefully we can answer any questions. Taxable fringe, that would be the cell phone allowances that we utilize for on-call staff. And that amount has not changed. Vehicle fuels and maintenance, we budgeted at dollars.
So that's a new, there's a request for a hand-me-down vehicle for IT use. Seems like there was a vehicle for
We
IT
used to have
and
one.
then it went away and everybody, they're using pool cars, so I guess I'm not sure.
I think they've had some requests not to utilize that, not use their personal cars when they are transferring equipment. Is that?
Yeah, and I think it was just, if there's something available that's getting decommissioned, we could use it. If not, continue what we're doing, I think was the,
You're using the pool cars though, right?
yes.
If you, I mean, if there's one available, you're using
Mhm.
pool cars. Okay.
So I'm not quite understanding then. If
They
you're using the-
budgeted fuel, so if they could get a vehicle from when the sheriff's office trades in, we usually have opportunities to do that.
Mhm.
Can you pull your
There-
mic just a little?
I'm
closer?
sorry.
Yep, no,
It was really loud first. So they did budget some fuel in case they could utilize a
Hand-me-down.
hand-me-down. Usually the sheriff's office will, Leanna usually reaches out when they have a trade-in they have something that's decent. And we've recommissioned those with secondary roads, took one, facilities took one. I think IT would like to utilize one of those if there's one available, so they could have one just for IT instead of having to check out a pool car every time.
oh, for going between the
Right.
buildings.
If there's something available. I mean, there's times where we don't go to a building. We'll kind of maybe batch and wait till we're going to go out there tomorrow for this, but service would probably improve if we had something available that we didn't have to check out. I mean,
I didn't see very much in terms of employee mileage, but.
Is your mic on? Sorry.
I was just saying, I'm sorry, that it does mean keeping another car that the county needs to maintain in
Mhm.
addition to the pool cars. And I looked at the employee expense claims and it's like a 3-year average is $100.
right. But
So there's,
if we're doing a checkout, it's not going to show up there.
I understand
just-
that.
Typically Justin driving back and forth between the Justice Center and stuff. So
Is a pool car usually available though?
typically,
Typically, yeah, okay. Okay.
They used to have one. Can't remember. Was it the green Taurus when we had all
It
those
was a-
Tauruses?
Ford Taurus wagon types, we could.
And at that time, I think it got looked at when that one tech started taking a crap that, what is the usage? Is it really
Worth it.
worth it?
That's my,
So, and yeah, I mean, I had the same questions you did because I was like, are there problems getting? Cause I can see the pool cars out of my window and I know that they're not gone all the time or
Mhm.
even most of the
I
time.
don't know if they have any issues with the smaller pool cars with the amount of equipment. You know, I mean, it's
and you're right, mileage is minimal,
Mhm.
so.
It's a lot of times too, when, if they have to stop at HSC, the staff will stop on their way out on the end of their shift.
Mhm.
I do know they coordinate that. So that if they're heading to Ames, they end up at
Mhm.
Ames and then head home. So I mean, it's up to the board if,
Has it been an issue providing a service to someone at one of the other buildings?
No, no, but like she said, like, if there's something in Ames, I'll knock off early on my way home since I'm going to Boone.
so we do that, but we can remove the fuel if the board does not want IT to have one pool car, we can just, what we would
Continue.
like with the pool cars, if there's a larger one, like the Ford Explorer versus the RAV, the equipment doesn't always fit in the smaller pool cars. So, I mean, if they're loading up to deploy a whole bunch of
Or
PC
recycling old equipment to Ames. That's
Well,
a-
would we then
stack it up.
maybe swap out one of our current pool cars?
We could, and we can look at that with facilities to see how much those pool cars are actually being utilized. So, I mean, we can reduce or remove that $500 and
I would-
have them continue to use the pool cars as long as we can look at what the different ones they want.
I think that would be appropriate.
And I think part of it was they need to make sure and use a pool car.
Sure.
Let's not put the equipment in their personal vehicles. I mean, there could, they need to use the county pool car.
Right,
If they're
unless
deploying
it's, unless
equipment,
it's the end of your shift kind of thing.
well, even putting the equipment and stuff, some of that, I mean, some of the larger equipment, they should really use pool car. So they're not, I'm not saying they're damaging their personal car, putting equipment in and
Mhm.
out, but I would encourage using that pool car when at all possible.
So if a car did like come open at the sheriff's office, for example, then would IT purchase that car
we
or
just-
it just stays?
Just stays in the county. There's no cost to it.
If the county moves it to the pool car, we just don't get the sale of it.
Yeah.
There's no
Right,
Trade in or
Trade
sale.
in or whatever they're doing, yeah.
And usually that's fairly minimal, if you remember right, Lisa, the trade-in, just because of the mileage on some of those vehicles,
They've been getting between 8 and 12,000 a
on
vehicle.
the trade-ins.
Except for the ones they trash or crash.
Well, then we don't get any. But we can reduce that if you would rather IT continue just utilizing the pool car, and if they're having issues, then we bring that to the board at some
I would,
point.
I mean, I think that's how I would feel. I'm not sure how, if that's kind of the consensus or.
Yeah, I just think it's another car to maintain and everything, and if there's pool cars available.
So you taking that out or reducing?
You can remove it.
I took it out.
You
Mhm.
took it out, okay.
Put it to 0. Office supplies, that was increased a little bit. And Tim can comment, I believe that was because of the tools.
Yeah, just tools. Mhm.
I know there were a couple of the support analysts that want a toolkit so they can go fix the computer. So that was increased to $700 from 500. Data processing supplies, these would just be your smaller supplies. Cables, different things like that. Pretty much the same as last fiscal year. Data processing software. This includes the new environmental health software, the 365, and the HRIS software. Lisa, is the estimate different than what's in there?
The HRIS, we put in 110 for next year.
Yep.
Assuming 100 for this year.
So the re-estimate is correct.
That's pretty sure, because that's all that was in that 213, 213 is all that was in that line item for the current year.
And remind me, the double asterisk is one time? Is that what that means?
Or discussion or,
Mhm.
Or it was something in the CIP.
or
Mhm.
CIP.
The double asterisk, there is also a line item in contractual labor that has the environmental health software
Yeah.
review. So it just notes that there is an amount that was put in there for contract services to review their software. But then they also did make a request for new software. So if they get the new software, my understanding is they won't need the contract line item to
Right,
review for current
right.
software.
Is that your
Correct.
understanding?
Yeah.
Tim?
Yep.
The contract software on page 152 was 10.5.
Yep.
So you're saying that could go down to 0.
If
If they get the other-
new one approved.
Gotcha.
So there could be a little bit of an offset there.
And I think environmental health has had this on their agenda the last couple of years. I know they're wanting to do more in the field data.
And I don't know where we're at on that in the health software, so.
Part of that, they're waiting on the state as far as what they're gonna decide as far as taking away some of the services.
Mhm.
So that's in limbo.
So,
Yeah, with the, you're referring to with the state redesign, what they're doing.
So the environmental health software is either 125,000 or 10,500?
No, if they do not get new software, they do need the contract to review their current software. So we will need the contract amount as 10.5.
If they get this new for 125, the contract
Oh.
will go away because it will encompass.
Okay,
Everything. They won't.
How's that-
Everything.
okay.
how's the decision going to be made if they are purchasing new software versus just reviewing their current? Is it being made here at budget time, whether we leave that leave that item in or not? Do we need more information to discuss that?
Yeah, I'm not sure where they're at on that.
Where environmental health is on.
Right.
Where Kimberly is at with
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I could,
Well, we can ask them during their budget
Mhm.
work
Mhm.
session. We can refer back to this. You know,
Yeah, because if they get the new software, they won't need the 10.5. The 10.5 can come out. Fiber optics, Tim did note that the locating service fees are a little more than 6,000 for the contract.
Yeah,
So
it'll
does
be
that
about
need-
6,600, I think.
so that needs to change to 6,600 is what you're
Mhm.
saying?
That's what we're currently paying.
Okay.
So 10,400.
I'm sorry, we're changing the 9.8 to
9.8 to 10,004 because the locating services monthly. They vary a little bit, but they've been 6,600. Postage and mailing, that's just a placeholder. Employee mileage and expense. That was increased up to 250. We do have one employee that's starting to claim mileage more than used to. We will encourage pool cars as much as you can.
Mhm.
Communication services, that has gone up a little bit. Had some increase on some of our internet connections. I know MetroNet's a fairly new one at HSC that was just approved by the board.
Also, that Nevada backup doesn't exist yet, but that's kind of a placeholder for wanting to add that backup connection. Also
it's-
going with MetroNet would be approximately the same amount that we did over in HSC.
So the unknown means it's not existing yet.
Correct.
Mhm.
What don't we know?
I don't know if Clint's got a quote from them, but it would be with MetroNet. And I
Oh, so
believe
it's,
it's the same
Would be about the same.
amount.
so it's just based on that, so we don't have it for
Mhm.
sure, okay.
The data processing services. That's the multi-agency group. I do believe they were given an amount to increase it. We just did get the bill for last year,
Yeah, I think it's getting
Right.
paid this time, maybe,
just shy of 80,000.
right at 80,000, yeah.
And we had budgeted, I don't know what we budgeted, but we re-estimated it to 82, but we just got that the middle of January.
And what is the multi-agency group?
That's with Iowa State,
Is that map,
City of Ames.
Okay.
that maps G?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay,
the MAPS G.
okay. Multi-agency public safety. group.
Mhm.
I mean,
That's a big increase.
Yeah, I can't remember. I didn't bring all my notes.
I think there was an addition for equipment. They added
Oh,
all the agencies.
that's the 10,000 technology
Yes.
replacement, okay. That'd do it. That's if that wasn't in last year.
I think they're trying to figure out some of the maintenance too with from the city. They're trying to true up a few things. So I know that increased their maintenance and support increased a little bit. So. Education and training. There is a little bit of increase in that. Based on a few things.
if you look at historically, there's just, it's not even close to being
They're not utilizing. it.
used. So is there a reason for that, or is it just, time?
Probably time,
Okay.
scheduling it.
I would like to leave. I don't want to reduce that too much with the new director and let the new director determine
Right.
the education needs. Some of the stuff they can do online, there aren't as much.
The travel expenses, right.
expenses, different things like that. Sometimes there's not as much of a cost, depending on where they go through to get that training.
Yeah, sometimes.
Just depends. I know.
Yeah.
It truly depends. I do know, looking at this, they did increase the security and management for the director from 3,000 to 5,000. This year.
I agree, given the usage, it does seem high.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Alyssa. I don't know that we want to back it off too much with the new director coming on, especially with all of the cybersecurity things that we need to make sure they're keeping up on. And I mean, things change so fast. I wouldn't want to tie their hands on
I know
what,
the cost of the classes have gone up. I mean, Clint's network classes are double what the other tier 1 and 2 type classes are. They're just
Really?
double. That knowledge just gets pricier.
Mhm.
So I mean, depending, I wouldn't want to reduce it more than what was budgeted for the current fiscal year. I would at least recommend leaving it at the 20,000 that we have for FY 24.
You're comfortable with the 20?
I mean, I would be comfortable with the 20,000. The other part is if there's anything that the new director really feels that is important, that the education costs are, I don't have any problem with them recommending they just come to the board.
Yeah, yeah, let's find out rather than guess.
So leave it as last year.
That would be my
Mhm.
recommendation.
And the line by line, I mean, that can fluctuate too based on what they want to go to. So if we
Right.
just leave it at the flat 20,000, I think that's fine. Equipment rent and maintenance. There's a little bit of an increase, but not.
So can we talk about, oh, I don't know, 5 lanes down, Civic Plus
Plus.
hosting, including the intranet? Does anybody use the intranet?
No, that was one thing I think we need. Well, I shouldn't say no.
I do when I enter in new employees.
Yeah.
Whether they use it. I could run a report and the usage is,
I don't think since I've been here, I've ever used it, maybe once.
And that could be just from,
How much would that save us if we just continued it?
Because I don't know what the Civic Plus is without and with. So look at, just look at that and see how much the intranet is in addition, is with the Civic Plus. Because it's hard, it's a pain. It's not useful as far as like my perspective completely. It's not useful. Yeah,
well, I
exactly.
think what they were wanting to do was to move stuff away from the S drive to the internet so that it actually, so that while people have access.
it's
to it,
convenience. I mean, if we give the option to here, go to the S or here, log into this site,
Uh-huh.
They're
I'm
gonna,
just gonna click the link.
Right.
Uh-huh.
if employees are here at work.
Right.
Those that don't have VPN access, though, if the information was on the employee intranet, they would be able to utilize that information.
Are they
But
doing,
From a
how
web
much
page.
is Office?
they're not doing it.
No, they're not. So I think it's valid to look and say, okay,
It could go away and nobody
Yeah.
would care.
yeah, because I think we
Right.
used to also do some of our
Our wellness stuff used to go on there.
facilities, I believe, used to use their old work order.
Mhm.
Some of it was tied to maybe the internet, but never really. We're just not using it like.
It's
it-
redundant and we don't
Yep.
really need it.
And if we're moving to Office 365,
Yep.
that's going to provide that access.
You'll have SharePoint for documents to.
Yeah.
So I think we can definitely look at removing the internet from that contract.
Be interesting to know how much that would save us.
Yeah. The
Because
other,
That was the
You're right,
original
yeah.
intent.
The
Oh,
other
you can
piece
do a
that
sign-in and
includes
get
an
your
auto
payroll. No, you
refresh.
can't.
Yeah, I see that for the 16,800.
That was her selling point at that
don't think we
point.
were necessarily pleased with the refresh that we got
Yeah,
last
I'm
time.
sorry, I can't
Yeah,
hear.
there's too many.
I'm sorry.
What?
Yeah. I just said, sorry.
The other thing we would do want to have a discussion. It does include an auto refresh, and I'm not sure that we were real impressed with the refresh last time.
I don't know what they do.
No,
They didn't,
I
nothing.
wasn't-
It
I
was
wasn't-
very tied into certain things.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that's something to look at too.
Yeah, they did very little.
No, I
The,
know.
Uh-huh.
the departments were supposed to do
Yeah.
with it.
Well, and I just don't think our refresh looked like, if you look at some of the other civic plus websites,
Mhm.
ours looks outdated compared to theirs.
Because they didn't really, nothing changed.
right.
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Picture.
So
Uh-huh.
I think we need to dig into what's included in that refresh.
Mhm.
You know, even though you pay for a refresh, maybe you don't get the most recent platforms for the website. I don't know. So that's something that I think needs to be explored. So we do need to look at that contract.
We need to get
Definitely.
money to get something decent.
No, I'm saying don't lock us into a refresh. Don't pay for it.
Yes. thank you.
Here's the thing though, Linda, if you don't have that amount locked in, there will be a cost when you want to do a website refresh. That may cost more than what it would have been if you locked it in with Civic Plus. But is it really worth, if we're not going to get what we want out of it, maybe we just need to
Find somebody else.
do a different website. Yeah, I mean, and there could be some options. I think we need to for that. So,
County use Civic Plus and their sites look nicer than.
yes,
Yeah.
Why can't we get there, I guess.
Yep.
is my-
so,
Yeah, I've had some comments from the public on our website a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that is definitely something we can look at.
So
We'll
those
look
are
at-
two.
We'll
things
look and see what the
you'll
cost.
look at those two areas. Okay.
That cost.
I have a question on the alternate story domains.com.gov. It's $1,000. Minimal, I know, but is that new? Cause I don't think I saw it last.
No, I think they had it last
So
year.
often. And that's so nobody else takes those
Yeah.
domains and creates.
Mhm.
And maybe Tim can provide a little
Oh,
more
yeah,
from the
that's
IT
exactly what it
perspective,
is.
but we don't want,
To lock that in so nobody can take it and
Right.
spoof people and,
StoryCountySupervisor.com.
yes, yes.
Right.
Mhm.
and I think, I can't remember, were they?
I don't know
3
what
or
the
5
dates are.
years.
Some of them are 3, 5, and 10 years, so
Mhm.
it varies.
The other piece under the encryption software. Um. Some of that may. Be able to be reduced with the implementation of Microsoft 365. Again, we don't know when. We use, Virtru.
True. Yeah.
So there is a cost for those of us that need some type of encryption when we're sending
Mhm.
different things, but if. From what I can see, and I think Tim and I had a discussion, was it yesterday via email?
Mhm.
That can probably go away once Microsoft 365 is. Yeah. But what I don't know if it's an annual, does it run fiscal to fiscal, the Virtru?
Not fiscal. I don't know what date,
What's, but it's a year,
annual.
so we will have that cost. But eventually that can go away.
Zoom possibly also with Office 365.
The teams.
Teams, except for maybe, there needs to be a discussion with the board.
Mhm.
Except for what?
We use Zoom for the board.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
Oh, for the
know.
webinar.
Yeah,
Office 365 does have it available, so if we want to switch at the same time or phase that out after a year, or I know it's a lot cheaper.
Is
I
that,
think
you mean
we have
switching to
one
Teams?
webinar license and
Oh.
it's, I don't remember what that is.
we would want the webinar license so you don't have the situation.
Right,
where
right,
you Have people.
Yeah.
But with
coming in and
Office 365, you can do a it's month to month. You could also have 2 of them, that way you could have a backup
Back
in
up.
case it's not one person's locked into creating the meetings.
Gotcha.
So that should be reduced greatly with the implementation of Microsoft Office, because we'll have the Teams now. We won't need all those licenses. Zoom,
Where,
Which-
8190, it's on page 151, a little more than halfway down.
There's an asterisk by Zoom meeting and webinar licenses.
151.
Oh, down, way down.
I don't.
It's right above
Three-quarters of the way
department
down.
and.
Oh, I see. I
Yeah.
was looking for an asterisk over here.
No,
I was, sorry. Gotcha.
yeah, so if we do transition that all with the Microsoft, there'll still be a cost, obviously, for the webinar features under Microsoft 365.
A lot cheaper.
A lot cheaper.
Yeah.
But we won't need all those individual Zoom licenses because they can use Teams.
Right.
Yeah, well, through Microsoft, you can do
have
a
a webinar
webinar option. So there will be a webinar option for the board meetings, whether it's through Zoom or through Microsoft 365 is yet to be determined. So, does that help? Yep. There is also, underneath IT, there's a Liber UPS for 5250. And then there's
Where,
on the first page. Or I'm sorry,
oh,
it's on
same page.
151, but it's the first line.
First line.
Not the first page.
Mhm.
So 5250. And then about halfway down, there's another one for 4,200. Tim did say that's a duplicate.
That's a duplicate.
Oh, so let's remove the 4,200.
Oh, where it says VMware.
No.
Right above it.
USB maintenance.
One
CST.
says CST and the other one says admin and HSC.
What the good-
So we're gonna take that 4,200 out.
Yes.
Okay.
That's who we pay. I
Oh.
think initially, it used to be called Liebert, and then it switched to CST, and
CST.
it just got duplicated by,
But you wanted the 5,250.
yes, yes.
That's more the accurate. Other than that, the next ones are they're all department specific. So animal control still uses that Shelter Pro.
Yes.
Auditor's office, those were requests. They want to keep all the ArcView licenses.
I have a question on the county attorney. The carpal last year was 23,000 and there's 33 budgeted. Is that for safety's sake or?
I don't know, that's a good question for the county attorney's office when they come in.
Typically, there is an increase from year to year. Do we?
I'm using on my little tabby things. Okay. Yes. Using all my tabby.
That's a $10,000 increase.
That's a lot. It was, yeah, it was
Mhm.
weird. I put a note to talk about it. Oh, it's right at the top of 152. Oh, and the attorney, okay, they don't, yeah.
don't
I
put
think
anything in
that
their
They put it
budget.
here. It just goes here.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But a lot of times I do know IT will reach out and ask if we've heard if there's an increase or whatever.
Yeah, and I don't know, Barb may have
Yeah.
got that from her. I don't know.
Looking at our GA, the Microsoft licensing, will that go away with Microsoft Office 365? I know it's only $158. But is that
Why is it separate?
is it something they probably had before? It's a continuation on.
Is it something specific they have?
Yeah, I'm confused because I thought all the Microsoft Office licensing was in like the IT, everybody, unless this is a carryover because it was never understood that this is not a separate fund anymore. The whole mental health area is not here anymore. I don't know. I'm,
And it could just be a specific license that they needed above and beyond what the regular Microsoft license, like if they needed a 365. You know, if any of them have.
I don't think they have anything special.
I don't
No,
think
I
so.
don't know. I don't remember. I did discuss the budget with Aaron, but I don't
I don't-
specifically remember the licensing.
With that. We'll just circle that.
Yeah, because, you know, under IT, you have Microsoft licensing for office mail and server cows at 48,825.
That
I-
should be all of it.
I would bet you that $158 right here and now
Was
that it
something
just
that's
never got
split
moved
out.
out.
Okay.
No, it never got understood that that wasn't separate anymore.
Under HR, we still will keep, even with the when we're moving to a different HRIS, we are going to keep the applicant tracking system through NeoGov. So that's what's budgeted there. I did remove the perform. That will end June 30th.
Yay.
We won't be transitioned to a new system July 1st, but we'll work on a workaround. And then that will now be included in all of that. Lisa doesn't like that perform, but
Is the plan to continue using NeoGov
Yes.
for
applicant tracking.
applicant tracking?
Mhm.
Is that that the 9,660 is that standard like for other tracking, like applicant tracking software?
I've never quoted any other outside of like Civic Plus would have an applicant tracking, but we don't utilize Civic, I don't know what it's called. I would like to stay with NeoGov. That's what I'm not saying all, that's what most of the public agencies use.
Okay.
It does assist on the applicant side of it. Once they've created that account, it's real simple for them to go
Okay.
and
Okay.
that's why I want to stay with that at this point. Doesn't mean that in the future we won't say, oh yeah, whatever HRIS system, let's just go ahead and go with that. I'm not ready to move off of our applicant tracking at this point.
Okay.
Only because it is easy for people to apply for, they already have their
Right.
account all set up. We use, our stuff gets posted out to government jobs, different things like that through NeoGov. So at this point, I'd like to keep that. I don't remember off the top of my head what the applicant piece would be through the HRIS system. But I did not have that included in the quotes because I wanted to stay with this.
Is the soft code civil serve Tyler for 6,825 on page 152, a duplicate from 150 civil service sheriff's office?
Same
Same
amount.
amount, question mark.
Yes.
Yep.
Good catch.
So you're taking it out here?
Under IT, take it out, keep it under the sheriff's office. It's the specific software that's attributed to the sheriff's office, even though it's in the IT budget.
Good catch, Connie.
Thanks, Connie.
Thank you.
Oh, she did text, sorry. I'm not answering text while I'm. Okay, thank you. The other information, planning and developments or ArcView licenses.
I think I'm a broken record here, but can I just say again, why do we have 4? Plus in maintenance, number 1, there's 4 employees. And then there's that ArcGIS Pro subscription for $17.50 a year that you guys did not put in your budget, but it's also not in P&D's budget. So what's the story on that one?
Which are you looking at, Lisa? I'm sorry.
Under planning and development.
That ArcGIS, from my understanding, was one that was supposed to be moved to P and D's budget.
It's not in there. That I can see.
Listed but no dollar amount.
I mean, it's not in the P&D budget either. So it's nowhere. But why is it different than the ArcView maintenance 4 that we're already paying for? And the ArcView maintenance, ArcInfo maintenance number 1 combined?
They will have to ask what's the difference between the ArcGIS Pro and the ArcView. I don't know the difference.
Okay.
I know Matt was wanting them to go to pro, but I think there's just some resistance because new. It'd be a big learning curve.
So is one of the other questions, would be ArcGIS Pro. Is that something that should be in the P&D budget?
That's what we need to ask.
Okay, I'm just writing my notes, so I just want to make
I can
sure.
follow up with Leanne about that.
Okay,
Might be good. She can be ready to answer.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the other question is what's the difference between the Arc Pro and the Arc View? Should they both be in there?
Yeah. I'm sure Scott would resist going to pro. He's been using the other for, Years.
Right, but I'm just saying, are they the same? I mean, is it a one or the other is what I'm trying
We're
to.
getting all the same information from through
I would
both.
think it's one or the other. If you have the Arc Pro, I don't think you need the Arc View license.
correct.
You need one license. but
One or the other.
One or the other.
Yes.
Right.
yep.
So they need to make the determination.
So could it be that they're maybe not going to do the ArcGIS Pro and are just doing the ArcView?
I think that's a question. that
Okay.
Planning
I
and development's gonna
That's,
have to
no, okay.
answer. Yeah,
I think as it stands, Matt's the only one who wants to
use the pro
Oh, yeah.
and, you know.
I get
Leanne
it.
will, yeah,
Yeah. that's-
I know Leanne's
Perfect.
transition was kind of during this time of putting the budgets together too, so. The recorder's office did not. They still have their recorder,
That Eagle recorder. We're working
Back
on that.
yet?
yeah.
Tim and I are trying to figure out why we haven't paid it for 3 years, but that's okay. Why they haven't billed us for 3 years.
Exactly.
It's not why we haven't paid it, it's why they haven't billed us.
Mhm.
Okay, so we took that 6825 out right there, right?
Above, but not within this, so it's still here. under
Oh,
the
it's still
sheriff.
here?
I took it out above just so that,
Yep.
Oh,
we could-
okay.
yeah,
Oh, still in the sheriff's one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's the sheriff's, yeah.
I like to see, well, I don't know how anybody likes to see the IT budget, but I think it's nice to know which department or office that piece of software is associated with. I get confused looking at all of it, but,
Mm-hmm.
and then the treasurer's office has there too. Contractual labor, incident response exercise. I know this is a new amount. Tim, do you know much about? I think Barb's,
That's for that tabletop,
they want to do one specific for IT just because there has been a lot more
Mhm.
when,
ransomware
yes.
type
So I think
exercise.
that's included in there to do something with more of an IT focused exercise.
Do you know, did IT participate in any of the NACO ones? They were doing all kinds of like tabletop exercises and cyber attacking.
We did,
exercises.
listen to like that. Were you on the webinar too with the, West Des Moines?
They did the one with state and CISA and OCIO,
Mhm.
Secretary of State's office about. Yeah,
Uh,
that was for election administrator, and
Oh.
Yeah.
I know that.
Mhm.
NACO did several that were like a week long, so
Oh.
every day.
We talked a little bit, so if environmental health gets their new software at 10.5, so I don't know if we want to
I just made a note, we need to talk to environmental health
Okay.
about that. As to, and then I'll come back and either remove or not remove or.
one of them. I think obviously the 10.5, I mean, if they want to go with new software, you keep the new software amount in there. If they know they're not going to and they want the other piece, you
Right.
just leave the
Yeah.
10.5, but. Networking support, and that's been an amount that's included that we need that in there. Microsoft 365 implementation, that is contractual labor to get some assistance to migrate to that. And I believe they had some conversations with some companies about what it would cost. Data processing equipment. PCs here. That is a little bit, that's 5 more desktops than last year. They use excuse me. They look at their rotations.
The 40 laptops for 48. We can slash that.
You don't need 40 and off?
No. I think a lot of those were for county attorneys.
Okay.
And that'll probably be about 16,000.
Okay, so as opposed to 48, you want 16 there?
Yes.
And that has been some recent discussion. I know you've been
Mhm.
working with the county attorney's office on that.
So it's how many laptops is what you're saying is, can I do math?
12, 13, possibly.
Quite a big difference.
Mhm.
That's
Is that because they're using their old ones?
I think they use different funding to double up on laptops during COVID. Um, Now that they're on Carpel and it's a web-based system, they can log in from home. They don't have to be remoted into a second computer. So we won't be doubled up anymore.
So don't have to be doubled up?
Yeah.
Because that's still the policy, right? You have a laptop or a desktop.
Mhm.
Correct.
Want to be cyborg.
Your ear.
The rest of it's pretty standard if we have a phone. It shouldn't-
Yeah, I've
it's just
circled-
replaced all the phones, so hopefully we don't.
Right. I've circled the conservation's full-time position, $1,500. If that position is approved, it
Approved.
stays. If it isn't, it goes. And then the asterisks that you put down there for milestone server, 75,000. It's my understanding the sheriff has 33,000 and IT has 75,000, and if one gets purchased, the other one isn't needed. I'm,
As far as I know, I think the sheriff's won't be needed. I think we're taking over that project.
okay.
So the
That's something to note.
75,000 stays in is what
Yeah,
you're
Stays in
saying?
here,
But we need to have the
right.
discussion during the sheriff's.
Connie's texting us
Yep.
again, apparently.
They can cut 33,000 if the 75,000
Okay.
gets.
Yep.
And that milestone was part of there was a CIP, correct?
Yes, there was a CIP on it, yeah.
Oh, I draw the line at a new chair.
Well, it's new director. maybe.
Yeah. I don't know, I sat in that chair, it needs a new chair. Sorry.
And now, a conversation we had briefly at the CIP yesterday, and I've had some conversations. Barb put 230,000 in the CIP for feasibility for internet connection, part of the project out at the range house. It's not in a budget anywhere, but my understanding is it doesn't need to be either.
Correct.
The hotel is gonna take fiber right by there.
Well, and they don't really need it at this point in time anyway.
Yeah, they first were talking about doing Starlink or something else that was gonna be less, and now the hotel with the last money they got, they're gonna take fiber right down there. So at most, if it wasn't listed on the OCIO map as an unserved site, we might have to pay for the hookup, which the last time I heard would be $5,000 or something like that. So I've got an email into Shane at Colotel. He hasn't answered it yet. I put it in after just this morning, because I'd like to see it in writing before we take that out. But I'm sure we can take that money out and
It's not.
Well, it's not in here.
Not in.
Nowhere.
What-
It's out of CIP.
in the CIP, I mean.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be able to take it out of the CIP.
Okay, so according to my math, I took 11,183 out of equipment rent and maintenance so far, with some more to be discussed. And I took 32,000 out of data processing equipment, which you guys just told me to remove, so I did.
Okay.
Yep.
Along with the 6,200 out of education and training.
And you remove the 500 from fuel?
Yes.
So what's our bottom line?
Oh, my gosh, really?
You don't have to, I can touch base. I just like
Yeah.
to write it in here, so I.
Yeah, that's why I wanted you to know where I was at with the big ones that,
I think your bottom line, you'll know a little bit more after we have the conversations with the other departments.
Yeah, we got some other departments we have to talk to before
Yeah.
we're gonna know.
I wanna,
Yes.
So Leanne said that software ArcGIS was for Leslie, but she's checking with Matt to see if it's a duplication.
so it's separate from the four.
I was gonna say,
There's only three, or do they need one for the intern?
The intern uses it.
So the four ArcView currently in there are for director, two planners and an intern. But the ArcGIS Pro subscription was for the. No, I'm just,
She just texted, but it's kind of confusing, so I need to text her back. She said, I think we will be good now without anything now. We won't have the intern has access. The amount should be IT and IT at 2,100.
well, it's 2940.
Yeah.
How about we just touch
We'll
base?
just
and
wait.
we'll-
But yeah.
Well, and we don't have to do it right now. We can just know that that's an area. We can reduce by the amount.
Oh, okay. Is there any other? So. Is where, did you say? Oh. So get it. So she's walking down the hall, in other words. No, she's not. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
because
fine.
right now it's 4 ArcView licenses and 1 Arc Info maintenance for 2940 in the IT budget.
Sounds like that's gonna stay that
Yeah,
way. Yeah.
so we'll double check.
Okay.
But we won't worry about the question mark where the ArcGIS Pro. Doesn't sound like that's gonna be needed.
Okay, good. Is there
Okay.
anything else?
I'm glad you brought up the internet. Seems like we're paying for something, putting work into
Not
something
using
that really isn't useful. So. Good work,
There's time. Put it away.
time to do it.
Mhm.
All right, if there's
Okay.
nothing else, we can adjourn for the day.
Thank you.